Hello friends! Welcome to my channel where we sew pretty costumes and stuff. Today we are making the bodice for Glinda's Bubble Dress from the hit musical Wicked. If you didn't see the first video, I drafted a pattern and made a mock-up using references from the musical. I'm also really excited to announce that I got my first sponsor. This video is sponsored by Social Book, but more about that in a minute. Let's head on over to the table and discuss the materials and our plan of attack. Let's talk about the materials for the bodice for Glinda. The first material is going to be this spandex. I've mentioned this in my costume breakdown video. It is made with a spandex and then it is flatlined with cotil. So I have some white cotil. My photos that I have of the inside of the bodice show some kind of quilting technique that does not show up on this. I am going to be buying a yard of cotton to quilt this onto that I think will help add durability to this before we flatline this to that. For the sleeves, I will be using some of this leftover dyed blue organza. This is the one that I used for the skirt. So I will be using this. Obviously, I will be using the bobbinette as the top layer of both the sleeves and bodice. The other couple things, I have to make piping. So I'm going to be going to Joann's tomorrow where I will be getting that cotton. I will be getting cording for the piping. And I also need 5/8 of an inch twill tape for my boning. Now, I am gonna be using a separating zipper. This blue ribbon I used on the petticoat. The last thing that we need to find together or buy tomorrow at Joann's, we're gonna look through my lace and we need to find a lace that goes around her neckline. They do use a lace on top of each seam to kind of cover anything that would be fraying or would be considered unclean. For lace, I am looking for something that is 3/4 of an inch to an inch wide for the top of the bodice to place behind the piping. Then for the inside, anything from 3/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch would be awesome to place over the seam edges. I think this will be a great addition for the top. It is just long enough that it is not like obtrusive, but it's not so short that you won't see it. I am going to take a small sample of this to my Joann's tomorrow and try to see if I can find a little bit more of it. If I could have maybe 5 yards of it, I think I'd be perfect. I think I have just about 2 yards here. So if I can get 3 more yards, I think we will be spot on. So we've got our list, our reusable bag, our Joann's lets us bring our dog in, so Eva's coming with us with her new bandana. So let's get some stuff for Glinda. Okay, but they have Halloween, y'all. Like, slight detour. Look at this. And look at this. Look at how shiny this is. This is holographic Halloween. Halloween! Oh, I just blew my own mind. This is not why we came here. All right, here's what I got at Joann's. I got 1.5 yards of this cotton, just in case. I also went with blue for the cotton, specifically so that when I do the quilting technique, y'all will just see on one side what it looks like. I know white thread on white fabric is really hard to see what I'm doing, so I'm trying to do better by everyone on the internet. The other things that I got were this cording. This is of really good thickness for piping. So I got this in white, obviously, because I'm putting blue layers over it and I don't want another color to shine through. And then this is hopefully, this 3 yards plus the 2 yards I have will be, once I unpick it and press it, will be enough lace to go over all of the seam lines inside the bodice. I also got something else, because Halloween cotton is available at my Joann Fabrics and I just could not resist. This is going to be for lining of my next project, which you all have to wait for. Only a couple weeks, don't worry. I also bought enough to make a blouse out of, but look at how aesthetically pleasing this is. Purple flowers and skulls, come on, come on. Now let's talk about today's sponsor, Socialbook. Socialbook is a top influencer marketing software for both brands and influencers. They provide tons of tools for both content creators and brands. Inside my Socialbook, I'm able to look at my platform reports because analytics. They also provide a variety of growth tools based on the platforms that you are on. As cosplayers, many of us use media kits to share what we can offer when a brand reaches out to us. Statistics like engagement rate can be incredibly helpful for a brand, but it can also be pretty time-consuming if you try to calculate it on your own. But with Socialbook, not only do they give you your engagement rate, but they also give you a ballpark estimate of what you could be earning for a paid promotion on a specified platform based off of your engagement rate and reach. Socialbook even has a media kit tool to help you set up your very own media kit, as well as the Link One tool, which will help you create a landing page for people to find you on other platforms through your single link. On your Link One, you can feature a post from a social media account that you have connected to your Socialbook. So as of right now, I have a post announcing my first book, Cosplay Foundations, and then below it, I'm able to link where people can pre-order that book. This helps my older call to actions or a call to action that I want to stay around for a little while, like, you know, announcing a book. It will help it reach more people, especially as you grow on social media, new people will now see this featured post in your Link One. I love that Socialbook's main goal is to help content creators grow while also connecting us to other brands. As a content creator, this helps me feel valued, and it also helps me provide you with more value. I love partnering with Socialbook. You can create a free account in the link below. Now let's go back in time for a little Tambour Embroidery montage. Okay friends, so we are finally getting around to constructing the bodice pieces. I have spent 30 of the 40 hours on this bodice that I have spent on them, just doing the sequin embroidery on the bobinette layer. So it is time to get going on this actual like bodice part that is all of the everything. I plan for today to cut out this fabric, this is my cotton, and my cotil, and quilt these together. If there is time, I would also like to get the boning channels in place. So that's the plan. Oh, and I will be quilting these two together to create the stability layer so that there's a little bit more structure for this spandex to go onto, because we all know how spandex is, and we need some stability. In order to get the cut of the fabric perfect, I pin my pattern piece to one layer of the cotil, trace around my piece with an erasable pen, and then I can cut each piece out individually. And from there, I will repeat the process on my cotton layer. All right, so I have everything in cotton and everything cotil cut out. I need to press this all and then get each piece sandwiched together and ready to quilt. Basically what I'm going to do is just pin the heck out of each piece and then draw quilt lines on it and take it over to my machine and start stitching away. After pressing my pieces, I pin them together around the outside edge. Using my Frixon erasable pen by Pilot and a ruler, I am marking the quilting lines based off the images on the inside of Glinda's bodice that I have. I make the quilting marks about 3/4 of an inch away from each other. While I was looking at this piece, I also noticed the quilting is not actually on the other pieces, so I only have to do this one. Yay! Next, I will take it over to my machine, and with with a 3.5mm stitch length, I will sew over all the lines that I drew. This goes inside the inside, but I am just like so obsessed. I'm so obsessed with it. I just needed you to see it. Look how pretty it is. The side that will get seen is not as cute because I'm getting some like thread ball things. I don't know what they're called. Please let me know what these are called down in the comments below. But also all of this on the side won't be seen, so I guess I don't have to stress too much about it. But like, shlablam. Anyway, I just wanted to show that off. Now I'm going to flatline those pieces and then get some boning placed. While looking at my images, I was like, okay, let's look at all of the pieces to see where the boning is. And there's literally one piece of boning in each of these panels. There's 10 there, and then this is 11, and there's 5 pieces of boning in this. When you flatline fabric, you are sewing 2 pieces of fabric together to create a single section that will act as one piece of fabric. To start, I pin around all of the sides of the cotton and cotil. Then I will sew them together 1/4 of an inch away from the edge with a 4mm stitch length. For the corners, I drop my needle into the fabric, raise my foot, and then turn my fabric with my hands. Now I can drop the foot and continue to sew. Look at all of our pieces, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so basically now I'm going to take this ribbon and sew it to be boning channels on these pieces. Since the ribbon is polyester, I can use fire to burn the edges and create a clean finish. Then I can place my ribbon where I would like my boning channels, pin it in place, and it is ready to be sewn. Eva has officially allowed me to know that I have worked well past my normal work schedule. So I'm gonna head downstairs to take her for, you know, a thing. And I'll come back to this tomorrow. All of the channels are in, which is fabulous. There's a lot. I'll see you all tomorrow. Good morning, friends. I have made a new discovery. I've had a couple more people send me some photos, and I have learned, based off of those photos, that there is an organza overlay on top of the spandex and underneath the bobbinette. Now, based off of my photos, I can't tell if it is the organza that is used for the skirt or the organza that is used for the petals, because they are two slightly different. What we're gonna do before we cut any bodice fabric is we are going to make 2 samples. Let's make things. Okay, so I think it's fairly clear which one matches more. It's gonna be this one right here. So this is with the spandex, this fabric, and the bobbinette. This one is spandex, this fabric, and the bobbinette. Like, this is so silvery and beautiful, and like I'm gonna keep both, and I'm probably gonna put them both in my build book on this. But like, this is so silver, and this is so like kind of, it's like blue with a tiny hint of green. That's the one we're going with. All right, let's make a bodice. I already explained what flatlining is, but I do a few things a bit different with the spandex and organza layer. To start, I'm using a water-soluble marker to mark my pattern, and then instead of cutting the organza precisely around the edge of the spandex, I'm actually going to stitch it down first and then trim it close to the edge once all of my pieces have been flatlined down. All right, so I have trimmed all of the organza and laid the pieces together just to, you know, do it to keep them all organized and stuff, because this is now getting to be a lot. The next step is going to be flatlining this piece right here. This is our fashion layer to our strength layer, which is what we did yesterday. I am not gonna get video of this because you have seen me flatline these and these, and I just don't think that it will make for very entertaining content to flatline yet again. But I did want to say that I'm kind of annoyed because sewing spandex, you need a certain needle, and sewing this organza, you kind of need the opposite type of needle. So flatlining these together meant I had to sacrifice some stitching quality, which is really annoying. I was able to press out a lot of the ugliness, but like you can still see some pretty bad tearing and puckering here. So I've put a sharp needle in for this next step with the hopes that I will have less of this for the rest of the bodice sewing when I'm using this organza, but we shall see. We're gonna see what we can get done. Okay, so just 2 quick tips before I get back to doing this. I have tape on my 1/2 inch seam allowance because I want to make sure that when I'm sewing each panel together that I am very strictly sticking to the 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm also using my zipper foot. I'm really just doing this so that I can, for the first part of all this, like the flat lining, it was so that I can get really close to the edge without going off the edge. Now I'm doing it so that I can also see very clearly where my other stitch lines are and make sure that they are within that 1/2 inch so that my life is easy. Okay, I'm gonna show you one more thing. Okay, I'm not gonna show you the step because I want to just talk about the tools, but to get this beautiful, flat, amazingly gorgeous, yes, Evangelista, whatever, you know, seam, I have to use a pressing cloth because this organza melts instantly. Like it's absolutely horrendous. But I also have so much cotton in here that I really need my iron to be hot, 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 hot. So I'm using a pressing cloth, and I'm also using my ham around the curves. I didn't actually need it for this piece because this piece isn't curved, but if you can see what's coming up, I got this and then that and there. I have to sew those together and then press them open, and that's going to be very challenging. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that I'm using these tools and doing these other little things. Now I'm going to get back to doing this. Okay, so it is a little bit past 8 o'clock and I'm really calling it for the night because I'm hungry, my back hurts, and I would really just like to cuddle with Eva. But let me explain to you what I've got going on here. Obviously everything has been sewn together except for these 3 segments. We're calling them segments because technically these are all pieces, and they need the bobbinette sewn to them. But it's really like quite difficult to press these 2 seams in particular on each side because I need a pressing cloth and or else this will all melt, and then when I start pressing one, it'll press the other the opposite way. So what I'm gonna do tomorrow is fell these down, add the lace, like just get those steps out of the way, see what it's like flat. I'll probably take this off. I just really wanted to see what it looked like because I need to feel like I'm getting somewhere, I guess. So yeah, I'll probably take these off for the time being, and I will fell all of my seams down, add the lace that is the binding or like the cleanup portion of it that'll hide all of this fraying for both of these pieces, because if I'm gonna be doing it, I'm gonna be doing it. See what they look like pretty flat? I mean, these ones look pretty good already, but let's just do it just to, you know, consistency. And then I can place this back on and start playing with like how it looks without these ribbings, you know, without these poking up. And if I like it, I'm going to baste this on. So tomorrow is gonna start there. I know that's completely like not the order that we've been in, but I need these to lay flat before I can even do a fitting, you know? So if these aren't laying flat, I can't fit it properly to me because they're just gonna bulk up and like be all crappy. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Okay, so I have finished the felling of these seams on this bodice, and I don't think I will be adding boning to this channel because I had to sew through some of it, which is fine because this is very stable, but I've come across some difficult things. So something that some of you might have remembered me talking about in the petal video is that this organza frays extremely bad, and I did add some fray checks since I've sewn all of this. So hopefully when I go to sew these pieces down, I can fix it or keep it from happening. But this gap right here is really deep. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to salvage that, which is really stressful. This whole thing is kind of getting really overwhelming, and to have spent almost 60 hours on it, not close to being done. And now I'm fearful that it's not gonna fit because I measured it and unless it has a tiny bit of give, it's like a half an inch too small. So I don't know what to do right now. I think I'm gonna fell these seams and then, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep going and see what happens. Okay, so this is where we're at with the bodice. It actually fits me, which is fabulous. I have to add boning to the inside of this. We have piping, we have sleeves, we have cleaning up the inside. I'm gonna be using all of this lace to clean up the inside of it, and I'm gonna do that downstairs once I'm done filming this portion. And I said piping, sleeves, I have a little bit of lace on the top, the lace on the inside, and then ribbon that will clean up all of these edges left. So it's at least 2 full days of work, 1 full day of hand sewing and 1 full day of machine sewing. So tomorrow will be sleeves, piping, lace, and then all that will be left after tomorrow will be finishings on the inside, which is exciting. Boning too, I still gotta put boning in this. Okay, I've been rambling on. I'll talk to you all very soon. I have gotten 6 of the inside of these done. So I'll have to do more of the lace binding in the morning, or not in the morning, when I'm done with today's work. But what we're gonna do today is make the sleeves, attach the sleeves, and then we will make the piping and attach the piping and the little lace detail that's at the top of her bodice. Once that is done, that's all the machine sewing stuff. There's a little bit of handwork for the sleeves, but once that's all done, I'm gonna go back to getting this lace laid down, and then I will lay down some ribbon to cover all of the insides of the sleeve binding here, as well as the piping binding. So I think we are on track to get this finished in enough time to get a video up sometime next week. To make the sleeves, I'm cutting out 2 layers of my dyed organza per sleeve. Then I will stitch the bobbinette layer to the 2 layers of organza using my zipper foot to get as close to the sequins as I can. Now I can take out the basting stitches and trim away the excess bobbinette. I'm going to add ribbon to the top edge of the sleeve and then fold it over and stitch it down by hand. For the bottom edge, I will just fold it over and stitch it down. Once both are stitched down, I can add the elastic into each casing, and then I can French seam the sleeve edge up and attach it to the bodice. So right in here, this is where the sleeve connects to the bodice, so you can see that this is our bodice right here. To clean up this edge here, I'm going to be sewing some more of this ribbon just right around it, and I'm going to be doing that by hand. So it'll start on one side of this and I'll fold it over and sew it on the other side exactly how I did it, like here. I don't know if anyone else noticed too, I made this bobbinette about 1.5 inches longer than the organza that I used, so that it would have just a little bit of a different puff than the organza, so that it did look a little bit more, like, so that they looked a little different. Like, I want it to be cohesive, but I also don't want it to be cohesive, if that makes sense. I'll also just show you the couple of lacing that I've done. So if you see here, this is what it looks like versus this. This is, I guess if I put those 2 together, like that versus that. This isn't awful, but this is really pretty, so anyway. All right, friends, so hopefully this is the last of this triple layered fabric I have to sew. I saved you the time, I guess, and visuals of me cutting out strips this wide of the bobbinette, the organza, and the spandex, and then I sewed them together. So now we are going to turn this into piping. What I did was I measured each piece I need, wrote that down, added 1 inch to all of them, and that's how I got these. So these are all separate individual pieces, so I don't have to cut and like whatever play with the piping. I just know exactly which one goes where, and we can just go from there. To make piping, I am measuring the cording to be a little longer than my fabric. Then I will pin it at the end of my fabric and stitch it down so it won't slip out of the sandwich that I am about to make with the fabric on the outside and the cording as the filling. Using my piping foot on my sewing machine, I am going to stitch the fabric together to encase the cording, trying to get as close to the cording as I possibly can. Look at it, it is done. Okay, now I gotta add it to the dress or the bodice, but it's done. This was one of the scarier steps for me, or I was terrified of this. It was easier than I had expected. I really should give myself more grace, but you know, whatever. So now I'm just gonna sew this onto the bodice and then a lot of hand sewing. I was hoping to get to the hand sewing part by 5 p.m. and you know what? It's 4:20. I think I can sew this all on in 40 minutes. I have been crunching on this so hard, and I say crunching in a nice way, not like I have this like crazy fast deadline. I've been working on this since the beginning of May, but you kind of know what I mean. Like I had a video deadline, and so I've been working very long hours. So I didn't get footage of me hand sewing all of this inside, but I'll explain to you a little bit of what I did. So the first thing that I did was I kept saying I felled these seams down, and I actually whip stitched them. I went into it thinking I'm going to be felling them, and then I was like, oh no, this can just be done with a whip stitch. It was way fast. And then I stitched this lace down on top, and I did that with just like catching the slightest bit of this under stuff and then going through, coming up and then down, and doing that for both sides of this lace. So like on this inside and then on this outside as well. And I did it for every channel that you see. I do have 2 different types of lace. So this is what I got at Joann Fabrics, and this is what I had on hand. I don't think it looks horrible. And I don't honestly think it matters. No one's gonna see this. The other thing that I did was when I sewed the piping down, which I did get footage of, I on the inside whip stitched the piping toe-till, and then I actually hand stitched this lace on so that it would peek out through the piping. And then I used a cross stitch to stitch down this ribbon over all of that because it frayed. I did that obviously like on the bottom here, and I just did a nice little like tuck for this bit here because of how curved it was. And then I also, for the sleeves, if you can see, so here's my sleevey, there's my ribbon on the inside of the sleeve. I actually did this by machine. I realized, oh, I can just add ribbon to the end and make that the casing. But what I also did here was on the inside of the sleeve, we'll see if I can get this. There we go. So I whip stitched this side down, and then I did another piece of ribbon on this side with our cross stitch. I don't have a video on how to do this, but if you really want one, I can find one. Just comment below and tell me, hey, I'd like a video on that cross stitch. I'm pretty sure I learned it from an Angela Clayton video, but if you guys want it, somebody just tell me and I'll find it and link it below. And then the other thing I did was whip stitch this side of the zipper in, just because I didn't like how it was laying, and I thought this would help me zip up easier and better. I also sewed these little hanger loops in. They use twill tape in my images, but I don't have any twill tape this size. The only size of twill tape I have is like 1.5 inches or whatever I've been using for my loom. So I thought this would work because this combined with this, and the whole purpose of the hanging tape is really to take the pressure off of the sleeves when I hang it. I think that's everything. Now I guess let's go to the reveal. Thank you again, Social Book, for sponsoring this video. Now let's discuss my thoughts on Glinda's bodice. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but honestly, this bodice has been the most difficult bodice I have ever made. I spent 81 hours making it. I used several couture sewing techniques to finish the inside of the bodice, and I practiced so much patience on this project. I still need to make the collar, as well as the like floofy swooshy bit that goes at the bottom back of the bodice. And then I also need to make the rigging for the inside of the bodice that helps distribute the weight of the skirt, which means I probably should get back to making petals. So for now, the Glinda content is going to be a monthly video that I am calling Petal Watch. This series is going to include updates on the petal making of Glinda and any materials that I purchase throughout each month that are going to be for her wig, her scepter. I want to make the books, more sequins, anything that I, pick up along the way. I also would like to do for one of these videos a materials cost and analysis, I think is what you would call it. Basically, I want to break down how much materials I purchased, how much they cost, and just have an open discussion about the price of doing something like this the way that I'm doing it. I know that on Broadway, they say that one gown costs more than $15,000. I'm assuming that includes labor, because let's be honest, 1,000 hours of labor is involved in that too. But I still think it would kind of just be fun to see how much something like this cost. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video, and a super duper extra special thanks to my patrons. Without you guys, I really can't make this kind of content or this quality of costume. So I thank you seriously from the bottom of my heart for your continued support. It means so much to me. Now, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help with the algorithm. And tell me what you're working on in the comments below, or if you're not really working on anything, share with me what you're watching or listening to. My next project on this channel, since we're not gonna just stop making costumes while I spend my evenings sequining all those petals, my next project is going to be Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows. I will be making my partner Toby a Nandor costume, and then afterwards I will be making myself a Nadja costume. So if you are excited for What We Do in the Shadows and you would like to see those costumes, please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, may all your dreams come true.